大家好，我係香港史研究中心嘅葉建文。喺2024年嘅時候，我哋推出咗香港史記訪問系列，以短片形式為大家介紹咗10位嘅歷史愛好者同埋佢嘅研究心得。今年我哋嘗試以另一種方式去普及歷史嘅知識。香港歷史學堂系列，我哋為大家請嚟8位歷史學家，同我哋分享佢嘅觀點。事不宜遲，我哋馬上上堂。第一堂我哋請嚟 Robert Bickers 為我哋回顧英資大行太古集團喺香港嘅發展軌跡同埋歷史意義。
In this section, I'd like to talk about the history of John Swire and Sons, Swire Pacific as they now are. In the first part, I'll explore why and how the British actually came to Hong Kong. In the second part, I'll explore why John Swire and Sons, a small Liverpool trading partnership, came to Hong Kong and how they grew. In the third part, I'll talk about why they stayed after 1945, when, as a result of the war, they had nothing left. In this first part, I'd like to talk about how and why the British came to be in Hong Kong. After all, today it's a 13 or 14-hour direct flight. At the beginning of the 19th century, it took weeks by sail or by steamship. It's a long way away from Britain. The British were in Hong Kong because they were in India. The East India Company, established in the 17th century, held a British monopoly on trade with the Indies, and specifically with India and all territories to the east. The East India Company developed a trading system with China. China's single biggest export was tea. Tea fueled the mornings and the days of the English. That tea could only be sourced from China. The East India Company explored various ways in which it tried to sell British goods to China. Cottons, British manufacturers, all sorts of things. But it found this very difficult to penetrate the Chinese market. It also found the conditions in which the British traded in China very difficult. The Qing rulers of China restricted all trade with foreign companies and foreign nations to one port. That port was Guangzhou, which the English knew as Canton. They were allocated a small part of Canton on the riverfront, which they called the factories. And different foreign nations had different warehouses in this factory area. But they were not allowed to live there all year round. They were only allowed to live there in the trading season. And they were not recognized in the way that Englishmen, Britons, in the late 18th century came to feel they ought to be recognized as representatives of a growing and important power. When they weren't at Canton, British traders lived at Macau, but Macau was controlled by the Portuguese. It was therefore not ideal for Britons. They did not control it, they were there on sufferance. From as early as 1787, the British began to ask the Chinese authorities for a small plot of land of their own, a depot, perhaps a detached island. So for almost 60 years before the British took Hong Kong in 1841, they had been looking for a place of their own with which to trade in China. The opportunity came because of a war the British called at the time an Opium War. The East India Company's control of Bengal meant that it had control of a very productive opium monopoly. And it was opium that the British found that they could sell in China. But the import of opium was prohibited by Qing law. The East India Company, as an official monopoly, did not engage in illegal trade in China. What it did was sell opium in India to private British traders. Where the British traders took it was their own business. And of course they took it to China. Private traders, also known as country traders, took opium to the Canton Delta and then smuggled it into China along the coast. This private British smuggling trade grew and grew. In 1833, the East India Company lost its monopoly of trade with China, and private companies could also enter the tea trade. Across the 1830s, the opium trade grew immensely, and what had become a legal problem became a social and economic problem for the Qing. An illegal trade corrupted local authorities and it demoralized local society. The Qing decided to take action and sent a commissioner, Lin Zexu, to stamp out the trade once and for all. In the war that ensued after 1839, Hong Kong proved to be a safe haven for the British. It was an easily defensible, very good harbour. But Hong Kong was not the preferred option of the British. It wasn't the depot they wanted. They wanted something much further north and occupied the island of Zhoushan near Ningbo, and in fact remained at Zhoushan for 4 or 5 years. It was much closer to the markets of the north and the great Yangtze River. But in the midst of the war, on the 25th of January 1841, British naval forces landed at Hong Kong, and the following day they stuck a flagstaff into the land on the island and raised the Union flag. They renamed that part of Hong Kong Island Possession Point. To the southeast was Hong Kong's largest peak. They called that Mount Possession. They immediately started building a small colony. Chinese traders came with them, immediately came on land and started building mat shed shops. They built a hospital for the soldiers. They built barracks. 25th of July, 1841, the British experienced their first typhoon in Hong Kong. It destroyed everything. All the construction was brought to the ground. The hospital roof collapsed on the patients inside, killing at least one of them. The last days of Hong Kong seemed to be approaching, claimed a newspaper report about this dreadful typhoon. But as we shall see, it was not. I hope I've explained how the British came to Hong Kong and how they acquired what proved to be a very successful, but what was, at the start, a purely accidental colony. And in the next section, I'll explain why British traders came to Hong Kong as well.